We
Hi,
do this
yeah.
all live stream, so
Absolutely.
thank you so much for being here. I'm just going to tell you a little bit. We obviously received your letter of interest, so
Sure.
thank you so much for that. So we've got just a couple questions, just a 5 questions, and about 15 minutes, so we kind of have to roll, but we'd love
Sure, I
to
understand.
go ahead and we'll get started. All right, with that, why are you interested in this position on the Sherwood School District Board of Directors?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for that. I was going to just say like, hey, could you introduce yourself? But I see the name tag, so I guess I don't need to do that. As you saw from my letter of interest, my background is in education. I also have a background in business. So it seemed like something that was a fit and something that I'd considered doing for years. Just I haven't gotten to the point where I was ready to run and actually try to do that. And this just felt like the time to go ahead and try to do that. Obviously, there's a lot of changes that have happened on the board recently, right? We have 3 new board members in the last year or so, and now we're going to lose another board member. So I just, as a citizen, I just felt kind of compelled that like we need to add some more experience back to the board. And I believe I add that. I have, like I said, education experience. So as far as the domain as education is concerned, I understand what that means. So it'll be easy to get up to speed. I have a background in business administration. So I can read the financial charts. I can read a portfolio. I know what that is. I won't need a lot of, up to speed on that. And then honestly, I just see this could be a potentially challenging year, right? We have a change in leadership happening, which is a big deal, right? I think Jeremy Lyons, is that the new, yeah. Which I think, by the way, I worked under Jeremy in Hillsborough my first year there. So I know he is, I think he's a good choice, by the way. But still, there's a building of trust that has to happen there and some time, right? That has to build up. You've got teacher negotiations happening this year. In a good year, that's a hard thing. I've been on the union side of that as a teacher. And that's a hard thing to navigate. I know what that looks like. And particularly right now, with it, like I said, a change in leadership. You've got coming out of the pandemic, so the needs of the teachers are going to be different. And quite frankly, teacher morale in Sherwood is not high. That's a problem. And we need to address that. That's a serious problem. I taught in Sherwood. And I can tell you that, like, from my experience, it's a district that is typically prided itself. The teaching staff kind of believes in a sense that it's not to toot our own horn too much, but like, we feel like we're like Starfleet, like we're top of our craft. Like we know what we're doing. And to see my old former colleagues in such a low morale is concerning and heartbreaking. And I think that's something that the board we need to recognize and realize that when we go into these teacher negotiations, it's going to be a more difficult year. And then God forbid we go into a recession and we have to make hard decisions. We're going to need somebody that understands, can empathize with the teachers, can understand what that is, and understands the business of finance and what those decisions might have to look like. I believe I could provide both of those for us, the community.
Thank you. What strengths and qualifications do you possess that make you a strong candidate for this position?
Sure. Yeah, I think, partially my background experience speaks for that. Like I said, when we're discussing the domain of education, I won't need to be brought up to speed. So when somebody's coming to us and saying, hey, we're going to add in this new curriculum and it's a constructivist philosophy, and I'll just be able to immediately know, do our teachers trained on that? We're going to need to spend more time on that. I can know to bring up issues like, hey, we've got a new science curriculum happening in the elementary school. I'm like, great. Is this going to be a real hands-on kind of situation where we're going to have a lot of manipulatives and materials? And how is that logistically going to be handled? Right? Because I can tell you from a teacher perspective, if you don't have the administrative logistics in place, those things don't go well. You can't have teachers running to Hobby Lobby every week trying to grab supplies, right? So as far as why am I qualified for this? I know what it's like on that teaching side. On the business side, like I said, I have a master's in business administration, international business. I can look at the financials that are brought. I can understand what goes into the financial documents they're going to be handed to us. I can produce those documents myself. So I think I can be a huge asset to this team. And I think on a more personal level, that there are teachers in the district that know me, they trust me. So when we have to make hard decisions that we might have to make, I bring a certain good faith quality to the board, right? I mean, they're going to say, okay, yeah, we know that we don't like the decision that's coming down. We don't like the way this contract negotiation is going. But I know I know this guy on the board. He's a former teacher. He's negotiating in good faith, right? I can bring that to us. I can help with that. Because like I said, I mean, the Sherwood School District is the largest employer in Sherwood. It's important not just for our kids to get all this right, but for our community, right? For all of us, we're all invested.
Thank you so much. So the third question is, in your estimation, what are the top two issues facing or issues/challenges facing the district?
Well, I think morale is number one for sure. I've never seen my colleagues, former colleagues, I should say. I'm sorry, I've been out of the district for almost 10 years now, but I've never seen the morale like this before. And I realize it's, a lot of it has to do with the pandemic and things are difficult. I get that, and this is a trying time, but we've got to address that, right? I mean, if you have a bad morale, you're going to have a bad product, and our bad product is our kids, my kid, right? I don't want to see that. I know you guys don't want to see that either. So number one, that has to absolutely be addressed. We have to do that. And I think number two, we can't ignore the fact that we have a huge change in leadership in this district, right? We're gonna have a new superintendent. We've got some new principals. And then even on the board itself, we have 3 new members. Last year, this will be our 4th member. That's some huge change in leadership. We have to address that. And I believe that while I may be new to a school board, I'm not new to this domain. I can come in and help bring some experience. I can help guide. I can help give some perspective.
What time constraints and or conflicts might you have that would impact your service on the board?
Sure. Yeah. As far as time constraints, I mean, like anybody, I have to work. Luckily, most of my work, I'm a software developer now. Largely self-employed, though I take contract jobs, but I'm flexible on that. I can kind of set my own hours. So if I have to take a day where I'm working to do board duties, I can do that. But like anybody else, obviously I have kids, I got a dog. My dog's in the car right now, but he's fine.
Okay, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, I guess I'm looking, what are you looking for in a candidate? You're going to be now 4 new board members. I mean, what are you hoping to get out of this new member? I mean,
I think, the initial criteria still applies. And, from my perspective, and obviously, I'm probably, the person that it would least impact, obviously. I want someone that can fill in some gaps. Obviously, when I leave, that has some things in, qualifications that maybe are a real strength to the board and can work with everyone, and whether that's the executive team, the public, student, whatever, just someone that's an overall, really just a heart for kids, and can just do that work.
sure.
Anybody else?
I think for me personally, I would love to see someone who comes in who kind of has just a moderate tone, who can meld a little bit, because we are so new and have been really trying this year to kind of learn each other and learn how to work together, and someone who's ready to kind of jump in and be a part of that process.
Yeah.
It's hard when we're all working in opposition. So it's nice to have different perspectives, but it would be nice if it was someone who was wanting to meld in with this group.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as the board, we have to work together, right? And we have to. The community expects that of us. Our kids need us to do that. Teachers need us to do that. Yeah, I agree.
For sure.
Yeah.
So as far as the process, obviously we're conducting interviews now in the work session, and then what happens is at our regular meeting, it's an action item.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and take a vote, and you don't have to be here. It's going to be a long meeting. I don't know what hour we will actually get to this, because it's a little bit farther down the list. We've got a lot we're doing.
Sure.
Either way, we'll definitely let you know, be in touch with you. And again, we really appreciate all of your time and interest, and appreciate it.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. No more questions. That's it.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you
All
for
right.
coming.
Sure. Thank you, guys.
Still up. Yeah. So I just wanted to let everyone know that our next candidate, Ian Swanson, is joining us. Hi, welcome via Zoom. He is under the weather, and so he's going to join us this way. So we'll go ahead. Welcome in. We have about 15 minutes and 5 questions. So with that, we'll go right ahead and start.
Why are you interested in this position on the Sherwood School District Board of Directors?
I am interested because I love Sherwood a lot, and I feel like this is an incredible community. And one of the pieces that makes it such an incredible community is the involvement and commitment that everyone here has towards one another. And that is seen and felt in many ways, especially when it comes to our school and our education. So for me to combine that love of our community and the ability to be part of it and to help it be better and continue to grow, coupled with my own personal background in the love of education, and my work is involved. I've been very involved with education in my work, and I really want to find a way to bring those two things together. And I think that my understanding of education and my love of it and the effort that I put into it in my work life, combined with what I feel for this community, this is a perfect opportunity to bring those two pieces of myself together and just to be of service to this wonderful place.
Our matey. What strengths and qualifications do you possess that make you a strong candidate for this position?
I already touched slightly on one, but I'll go into maybe a little bit more detail. For the past 10 years, I have worked for an education technology company, and my role within that company is as the director of product, which essentially means that my job is to go and to talk with schools across this entire country. In fact, I talk with schools in other countries as well, and to figure out what it is that they need. So I have a pretty good background and understanding in that and what's going on out there in the world, the challenges that schools are facing, not only here, but on other places, and the upcoming challenges. In addition to that, because I spend kind of all day, every day, talking with schools and reading and understanding what's going on out there, I just have a very holistic understanding from a different perspective. A lot of people that have applied today, as well as the staff of our schools themselves, are very well versed in what it's like to be a teacher or an administrator, whereas I'm going to be able to see things from a slightly different vantage point. And I think that that's for the best, because it's not my job to be another staff member, right? It's none of our jobs as board members to be the staff. We're here to help the staff work with the staff, but not to be them. So I would be able to bring a different perspective, but a lot of rich knowledge, a lot of great understanding of what is happening in other places and things that are coming up. So I think that that is a big primary qualification. I don't know if I call this a qualification, but it is definitely part of the reason that I am interested, is that I have 2 young children myself. I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. One of them is about to, progress into 3rd grade starting next year, and the other one will be starting kindergarten. So what is happening in these schools is something that's very pertinent to my life right now. There's nothing better than to be directly involved through your own children. And I care very much about that. And I'm very, paying a lot of attention to what's happening. And I think that those two things kind of coming together really give me a kind of unique insight that I think would be a great complement to the other board members and to our staff.
Thank you. So the next question is, in your estimation, what are the top 2 challenges facing the district?
Well, obviously, certainly wouldn't have said this a few weeks ago, but moving into a world of a new superintendent, I think, is by far the biggest challenge. Just how that will go and the transition that kind of comes with all of that. I can also say that I think just straight up staffing and dealing with things like subs and dealing with things like burnout, both for school staff members and for students, is of paramount concern. I see this all the time everywhere that I talk with schools, and I see it in our own schools. It's a big deal. I think that this district has done exceptionally good through the pandemic, especially compared to some other places. There's a lot of horror stories that I have been heard and witnessed myself as I've talked to districts, and we're going through this with flying colors in comparison. But there's still a lot left to be worked through. There's still acceleration that needs to happen. So I think that I would definitely throw those two things there. There's just that nature of like, how do we continue to move forward to do what is best for our group of people and to meet their needs and to give them the what they need in order to succeed as a more holistic way, right? Just the mental health aspect of that and getting through this and getting back on track and getting back into acceleration. We all were so happy and pleased to see our band win that amazing award the other day, and that excellence was absolutely incredible. And I can't wait for us all to find ways to continue to take that excellence and scale it to all of our other students, and especially to take the ones that didn't excel on their own in their houses for 2 years. How can we help them to get back on track and to continue to accelerate and flourish and leave here proud?
Thank you. What time constraints and or conflicts might you have that would impact your service on the board?
I believe that I would be in okay shape. I do have a job that takes me traveling to a lot of different places. That shouldn't really have a huge impact on Wednesdays. That's, I believe or during the weekdays, I'm usually able to schedule around that, but I do have some travel. Typically I would be available by Zoom in the event that I was traveling and there was meetings that I had that I was off somewhere else during that time frame. So I think you'd be all right. Beyond that, I do actually work from home most of the time, and I have a flexible work schedule, and my extracurricular activities are generally things that I can do whatever hours I'm able to do them. I think at least some of you are well aware that by the time September and October rolls around, I get fairly busy, but I can always make time for a school board function or meeting.
Fantastic. Thank you. So Ian, do you have any questions for us?
I guess a question for you all is what are you looking for with a board member?
Well, I actually just answered this question. I personally am looking for someone who can kind of meld in with our group a little bit. I think that it's a big change having us three on the board, and it'll be another change to add another new person. Then we're losing a great leader on our team. And so someone who's doesn't have to share my perspective, but someone who's willing to come in and join us and kind of learn together with us is definitely my greatest hope.
Yeah.
So as far as next steps, obviously you're not joining us in the room tonight, so you can watch via live stream. But what we'll do after this work session is we'll go ahead and take a vote in our regular meeting and decide who the next board member is going to be. And we'll certainly be in touch and let you know either way. So thank you so much. We appreciate your time and hope you feel better soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys. Thank all of you very much for taking the time to hear me out. And I look forward to see what comes of the school board, whether I'm on it or not. You're all doing great work.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night, guys.
welcome and welcome to a live stream version of all of this. We're gonna wait just a second. We're running a little bit ahead of schedule. So Director Nangaro stepped out, so we'll wait for him. But welcome. This is Hans
you.
Muller. Is that?
Yes, Hans
Okay.
Moeller, yes.
Yeah, nice to meet you. I guess we can introduce ourselves since we've got a couple minutes maybe. So I'm Sue, obviously.
I'm Abby Hawkins.
I'm Krista Thorne.
Krista,
Hi, Jessica Adamson.
Jessica.
Oh, yeah, we can, okay, the rest of the group can introduce themselves as well. No
Well,
pressure.
yes, I read this one before.
How are you, Hans?
I'm good.
You
I'm
doing well? Good,
I'm
good. I'm Heather. Nice
Heather.
to see you again.
Okay, am I okay with this?
Yeah.
Is this right?
Yeah, you bet.
Good to see you again, Gary Bennett.
Yeah.
Hi, Hans. We met. Steve,
Yeah.
good to see you. Jim Rose, and you were a great coach for my daughter.
And I'm Christine Andre.
And Josh.
So I guess I can start. So the way that we'll go ahead and do this, we've only got a handful of questions, so nothing too terribly invasive. So we'll ask some questions and then I'll let you know at the end of, well, towards the end of our regular meeting, we'll go ahead and take a vote and decide who the next board member will be. So either you don't have to stay. It could be a very late night. If you look at the agenda, it's a ways down that list, but we'll do that and then we'll obviously be in touch. So you're welcome to stay, but do not feel obligated.
Sure.
So really appreciate you being here. And with that, I think we can probably go ahead and start.
Why are you interested in this position on the Sherwood School District Board of Directors?
It's a great question, Abby, and I think you're right. I mean, we've been here since 2008 and my two girls are in middle school now and one to go to high school. And Archer Glen was our home base. And we had a great experience there at Archer, just looking at the school, the format, the principals, the teachers, and a lot of volunteer work there. And it just became more obvious to me that there is a governance structure, there is a way things operate. And I just became interested in that and learning a bit about it and trying to fill a role for the community now that they're getting a little older and moving on to other schools and other interests. So to act with the board as a, as a representative of our city and our citizens and their concerns and listen to them and try to facilitate problem solving.
What strengths and qualifications do you possess that make you a strong candidate for this position?
Great question. Well, I'm not the youngest person in the world, so that might be, I hope, to my advantage. But I've had a lot of experience working with teams and unifying teams, trying to come to consensus, try to understand and how different governance structures work. What is the role once you understand the mission and the role of each particular team? So, and I view school boards kind of that way, and just the limited research I've done, that they are an organization that has a role as a representative. They facilitate discussions and problem solving. They understand and put out information back to the community on policy and decisions. So I was involved in the health arena for years as an orthopedic surgeon, then involved with the Providence Health Plan and networking and working with small hospitals and just involved in that sense and feeling that I did gain an expertise in that realm, which is different than typically being an orthopedic surgeon. So that takes a number of years, but I think it happened pretty well.
Thank you very much. Can you talk to us about what, in your estimation, are the top two challenges for the district?
Well, I think everyone kind of knew about the flaming elections, so to speak, the last time around. And then with all the changes with the COVID and the schools, and just a sense that I had in the community of a real kind of separation of people, and a lot of anxiety and a lot of division, a lot of misunderstanding. And so when I saw that escalate, I thought, there's got to be a better way to do this. And say the rest of your question again, the top two.
Just
So one
top
would be
two,
to
yeah.
bring this understanding of our Sherwood community back to a more peaceful place and try to understand what it is that the school board really does, and why and how we distribute and listen to information, and develop a more respectful way to do that. And so that's number one. And number two is just to keep an eye on, and this is my personal eye, to keep an eye on where and how are we educating these young kids, and to listen carefully to some of the new ideas. What are the new ideas? Are they that people are bringing to the table? Do they seem valid? Are they reproducible? Things like that. Really look at them carefully as our community brings those ideas to us, and get them the right channels and try to get them the answers, and to get the answers ourselves.
Thank you. What time constraints and or conflicts might you have that would impact your service on the board?
Good question. I have right now, my obligation to my profession is I am like a substitute teacher. So I retired in 2020. I got rehired by the Providence Medical Group and the hospital system to help with orthopedic surgeons in small hospitals who are really struggling, burnout. So I can pick and choose. I work 5 days a month. That's it. Then we have a farm, and I'm at our farm taking care of that. So I have, I guess, a lot of time.
Guess we're back around to me. Do you have any questions for us?
No, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a learning curve. It's a 1 year. So someone will have to help pick up the speed. How does this board govern itself? What are the interactions amongst the board members? How does the citizens of Sherwood present themselves to us? I've kind of watched that. I've done that myself at times. And then how do we get the information to the right place, and how we get the information back in a respectful way to the community? So that'll be a learning curve. I know that it's going to take a little bit of time.
That is it. So thank you so much for being here and your interest. And like I mentioned before, we'll definitely be in touch and let you know. And appreciate all your time. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
welcome. Appreciate you being early. We're a little ahead of schedule, so thank you for your flexibility and jumping in.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
So what we're gonna do, we've got about 15 minutes. And so this is it, do you go by Jeff or Jeffrey? Lee?
Jeff is fine.
Jeff is fine. Okay, Jeff Lee. So what we'll go ahead and do, we've just got a handful of questions and it's about 15 minutes. So we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Why are you interested in this position on the Sherwood School District Board of Directors?
I think a lot of my adult life, I've been interested in different types of service. And there's different times in my life where I've been, I would say, stable enough to provide extra service. And so that has been, so there's parts when I was in the military, and then afterwards, when secure job, I was able to volunteer work as a coach and volunteer work as for children in the community. And so getting into and becoming, I think, acquainted with the school board. I have one child that just graduated and 3 who are still in, and then several nieces that are also attending. And I felt that the school board has done a lot of good. The school district has done a lot of great things, and I think it's moving, and it can move in a great direction. And I felt that providing some of my service and expertise and some of my experience that I've had may help that continue in the right direction.
What strengths and qualifications do you possess that make you a strong candidate for this position?
So I come from a psychology background. So my profession is in clinical and forensic psychology. And so I very much am, and I think experienced in attuning to individuals and listening a lot of listening, and then incorporating other people's perspectives and understanding. And I think that for me, the philosophy of the philosophy of the school board is really representative of the stakeholders, the children and the parents in the community. And so listening to them, I think I can be quite effective. I also, as part of my profession, I also am able to, I would say, parse out noise and focus on the primary issues. And a lot of times well, specifically in my case, focusing on the best interests of the children is something that I do on a daily basis. And I think that is where the emphasis would need to be and needs to maintain.
Thank you. In your estimation, what are the top 2 challenges for the district?
Yeah, I would say, you asked me, if you were to ask me that 2 months ago, it might be different. A year ago, it would be different. So I think one of the things would be, because things change so rapidly, and I think we've experienced that in 2 years, one of the challenges it has been adapting to change quickly and focusing on the connection between the administration and the community. And I think the school board is as representatives of the community and the stakeholders in the school board, that would be one thing to maintain. I think the other thing would be, well, I would say with the new superintendent, like I said, I think if you were to ask me this a month ago, it might be different. But with the new superintendent, I would say facilitating connections between the community and the new administration, and the new administration with the community. And so I think that type of communication and connection is essential, so that the Sherwood community, the parents, the students, feel that they are being heard and listened to, and that their needs, and most importantly, that their needs are being met.
What time constraints and or conflicts might you have that would impact your service on the board?
I have a lot of control over my own like my work schedule. If I'm given advance notice, I can make things work out typically. Last minute things, if there are certain situations in which if I am called to testify and I'm scheduled to testify in court, I can't change that. And so if there's a last minute move from the school board meeting or something like that, and it happens to interfere with my testimony or something like that, that would be difficult for me to adjust. But if I'm given advance notice, I can usually make things work out. So there's not a lot of interferences. I have a lot of control over my work schedule and personal life.
Awesome. So do you have any questions for us?
I would say, I think, well, I've had an opportunity to speak to almost all of you. We had, Jessica and I played phone tag for a week. So that was unfortunate. So it was very nice to be able to have those type of conversations and to ask those questions. I would say the main thing would be, I actually don't have any questions. I think they've been answered.
Legitimate, that's okay. So yeah, with that, we'll be taking a vote later tonight, and we will be in touch, and we certainly appreciate your interest and your time, and that'll do it. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good night. Welcome.
Hi.
You are on live stream. So
Well, I didn't expect such a crowd.
oh yes,
Yeah.
yes. We don't bite though. So we're gonna go ahead. We've only got a handful of questions, so it goes pretty quickly. We've discovered, but
Okay.
we'll just go ahead and ask some questions, and about 15 minutes is kind of what we allotted for the time.
Okay.
Why are you interested in this position on the Sherwood School District Board of Directors?
Well, I'm very interested in the position because I was in education for 16 years and have 3 college degrees in education. And actually, I would still be in education if Dan Jameson, which has been a client of mine for over a decade, had not told me when I moved to Sherwood 17 years ago from South Carolina that they couldn't afford to hire me. So here I am at Edward Jones, for 12 years. And this is my way of being able to contribute and still be involved in education.
What strengths and qualifications do you possess that make you a strong candidate for this position?
Well, like I said, I have a degree, undergrad from Clemson in education. And I also have a master's degree in school administration from Furman University. And then I have a specialist in education as well. I spent 10 years teaching elementary, middle, high school. Love all the age groups. Middle is my specialty. And then I was a school administrator for 6 years. And if I had have just kept waiting and waiting around for someone to retire, I would be in the Sherwood School District. However, you know how things go with education. People talk about retirement and talk about retirement, and no one retires, except this year, I'll have to say. 2 people are retiring, so.
In your estimation, are the top 2 challenges for our district?
Well, overall, in the state of Oregon and nationwide, we have a serious epidemic going on. And it has nothing to do with COVID. However, I do believe it has stemmed from that, unfortunately. We have a mental health crisis with our youth. We have children in the school district that really do not want to be back in school. And that is a serious issue. If we cannot make children feel comfortable to get back in the school setting, we are missing it. I believe we have a 5-year domino effect due to COVID. So that is something we need to deal with. I believe our educators, when they take recertification classes, need to be educated on mental health so that they can recognize if a child is having difficulties with mental health.
Thank you. What time constraints and or conflicts might you have that would impact your service on the board?
Well, thankfully, with my job, I have been able to make my own schedule. That was a real problem in school administration. I will have to admit, I have a 25-year-old, and I missed a lot of his life because of being a school administrator. And that was another reason why I chose my new career as a financial advisor, because I make my own schedule. My business office administrator would like to think she makes my schedule, but I block time. So I'm a time blocker. The good thing about me being in education, I'm a multitasker. It drives my husband insane, but I can get more things done than the average person because I'm a multitasker.
Okay, so do you have any questions for us?
Well, I would assume the question would be, how long would the term be? And obviously, what would be the responsibilities and the, like you were saying, the time situation? I would assume you guys meet once a month, but I would like a little bit more details on that.
Sure, have to take a crack at it. So the term for this would end June 30th of next year. So this would be just a 1-year appointment. This position will be open for election next spring. So the person who is selected for this is not obligated to run again, but that's the term is for a year. We do meet once a month at least, and then there are time commitments in between there. If there is a needed work session, if there are trainings for the board, if there are other things, we are very fortunate to have an able board secretary who does a great job of putting all of those known commitments or tentative board meetings on our calendar a year in advance. There is a board retreat that happens in August for us to be able to learn pretty substantial amount of information going into the school year. So that's usually a day. And then, we hope that board members are engaged in not only the school in which their children are at, but in other schools. And as new opportunities open, because we're kind of moving past COVID, the opportunity to be able to go and see what's happening in different schools, be able to attend, school concerts or athletic events, and just really be engaged in seeing the great things our kids do. We hope that board members are doing that and are interested in doing that.
Okay. Okay. Are there any further questions?
That is it for us. So we'll go ahead and take a vote in our regular board meeting tonight. So after we close the work session, it'll be towards the end of the agenda, and it could be a bit late. So you're welcome to stay, but you are definitely not obligated. We'll definitely be in touch and let you know. And we really appreciate your time and interest in
Okay.
becoming a board member. So thank you.
Thanks. And by the way, the crumble cookies were to die for. And I was supposed to be on a diet. Thank you for eating like that. Yes.
Welcome, Justin.
Hi, thank you all for having me.
Yeah, we're actually running ahead of schedule. It's Murphy's Law. If we hadn't, if we had allowed less time, I'm sure we would be running late. So thank you for being early and flexible with us. So the way this is going to work, we just have a handful of questions to ask, and we'll go ahead and do that. We've got about 15 minutes allotted per candidate. So we appreciate you being here, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Why are you interested in this position on the Sherwood School District Board of Directors?
There's a lot of parts to that answer. Like most residents in Sherwood, we were drawn to Sherwood for the quality of the school district, all the way through from elementary school, middle, high school. So for us, we have young children. Our oldest is at Ridges. He's in first grade right now, and we have two other kids following after him. So for our family, we have a very vested interest in ensuring and maintaining the high quality of the school districts that drew us to here. On a personal level, that's what really has motivated me, and really just wanting to ensure the high quality and caliber of the school district continues. So much work went into it from years of staff and board members before all of us and everything. So would really just like to do what I can to contribute and help that legacy continue.
I'm an avid note taker. What strengths and qualifications do you possess that make you a strong candidate for this position?
I think one of my strongest attributes has to do with just the shifting makeup of the board. Having served myself, I've served on two other boards prior to this. Before moving to Sherwood, I was elected to Marinwood Community Services District Board of Directors, and that was where I first got familiar with how a board operates. It's kind of the ins and outs of all of that, and taking that to our Sherwood Planning Commission, where I currently serve, feel having a lot of that knowledge will help, just kind of get whoever's appointed into this role up and running, and, just being able to get the district back where in a good place where we all want it to be. So.
Thank you, Justin. In your estimation, what are the top 2 challenges for the district?
I think the top challenge for the district will be, filling the large shoes for finding a new superintendent left by Superintendent Cordy. Thank you for your years of service, and just, the just the fantastic state that Sherwood Schools is in. Thank you for that. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge, or thing to focus on. And secondly is something that's become probably more pressing or concerning, I think, to pretty much any of us as parents. And I think that's school safety in regards to recent mass shootings and events and things like that. And as what happened in Uvalde, I think it's something that no one wants to have in their community. And for us, I think that's a very personal thing to think about. Not wanting any of our children or anyone to have to experience that, and what's the best way to prevent tragedies such as that.
Thank you. What time constraints and or conflicts might you have that would impact your service on the board?
Well, luckily I have an abundance of time. When moving to Sherwood, I've just been, my primary role has just been taking care of our kids. So currently I'm not employed at the moment. Prior to having kids, I was a realtor in California, which was a lot of fun, and really learned a lot of valuable things from that. So at the current time, I have plenty of time at my disposal to put towards serving on this board. And at the same time, I do plan on keeping my current role as a planning commissioner. And so I currently do have the bandwidth to be able to put quality and attention to both roles.
Okay, so Justin, do you have any questions for us?
Probably should have thought of that before, but I.
It's okay. It's not a trick. It's okay.
Yeah.
If you don't, that's fine. So the way this whole thing will work is that obviously we're gonna round out this work session and take a quick break.
Yep.
And then we'll be back in at our regular board meeting, and we'll vote on the next board who will take this board position on.
Yep.
It's towards the end of the meeting, so you are welcome to stay, but you are not obligated. I think it's going to be a great meeting tonight, but it's going to be a little bit long. So obviously we'll be back in touch with you and let you know if you aren't here. And we really appreciate your time and interest in becoming one of us, or I guess I should say one of them. It won't be me. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a great night.
All of you, thank you very much for your commitment and service to Sherwood Schools as well. So thank you. Good night. Thank you.
Okay. So that concludes the interview of our 6 candidates. We did talk about there is potential to have some limited discussion, about maybe some of the things that are positive. This isn't going to be a big advocacy piece, or obviously we're not going to be negative. We're certainly fortunate to have 6 amazing candidates that are interested in filling this role. And frankly, I don't think we've ever had that, never had 6. So that's super exciting. So with that, I just think that the caliber of candidates was impressive tonight, and obviously thoughtful. in their answers and their responses, and their letters of interest were varied, but again, in my opinion, excellent. And so that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think we are also very lucky. And I loved hearing from all of them. They all have such different backgrounds and things to offer the board. So I thought that was really interesting. I was able to talk with 3 of them beforehand that had reached out to me. So it was nice to kind of have a little bit more information. I wish I could have spoken to all of them in advance just to get a better understanding of their background and their desires and how they could kind of see us moving forward. But I would agree with you. We are really lucky to have 3 people who are all interested.
I just share the same sentiment. I do appreciate how many applicants that we had. I too wish I could have spoken to all of them beforehand, just because you can't get the best, feel from a 5-minute conversation. But I think we're lucky to have such an interest for sure.
Yeah, wow, it's gonna be really hard. They were all great, intelligent, seemed like very dedicated people, so yeah, just very impressed.
Feel like I should. And you know me, I'm real shy about talking, so that's a real problem. I would just echo what everyone said here. I think public service is a calling. I think we've got 6 people here who feel pretty passionate about that. And I am just grateful that we've got members of this community willing to step up and be focused on what's right for our kids, and keeping this district at its very highest level of achievement. These kids we're going to spend some time on Friday celebrating with a bunch of kids. I'm thinking about, what's important to me is that we have board members that are, cheering them on, and then that we come back and we do everything we can to make it possible for all of those kids to celebrate that moment. So just exciting to have such a great group of folks wanting to participate.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a difficult vote. And I did have the luxury of talking to all 6 candidates and read their letters of interest multiple times that we all got. I think that was a better, a good glimpse into everybody. So yeah. So I think, other than just the 5 questions, I think we did get a feel, at least in that regard, for these candidates. And it would be my best hope that whoever we decide on tonight will be interested and want to run and continue service. Because as we've all known, I think, for 3 of us, we're a year into this process, and there's so much to learn that being on the board for just a year is just a small snapshot in time. So I would really hope, it honestly takes, I think, a couple years to really get comfortable, or I don't know if comfortable is the word I'd use, but to kind of know a little bit more about and feel like you know what you're doing on the board. No offense to our new board members, but yes. So that would be my best hope, is that whoever we choose would want to continue and create that consistency and stability on the board. So with that, if no one else has anything else, we'll go ahead and take a break until our regular meeting. So thank you all. Appreciate it. And we will re-adjourn at 7:00.